Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our Lunch and Learn today. We are so excited here at the council to get to sponsor one of our great friends, Miss Donna Mundy. She works with the Center for Accessible Living. And if you guys have never heard of the Center for Accessible Living, they do some really amazing work as far as transitions and explaining Social Security disability benefits. They have a program for just about anyone in any transition of life. And since that's what we strive to do here at the council, is to help those with intellectual disabilities birth through the lifespan. They have just become such a huge resource for us and a big blessing to be able to share their knowledge with all of you. So today we are bringing you a topic we feel is pretty important, and this is Social Security disability benefits and transitions for youth age. So there's lots of questions we get all the time about how does my working individual that just turned 16, 17, 18, all those under 21, how do they still use their SSI benefits without having those taken away, and still, actually work out in the community and get that exposure. So this is a really great presentation to kind of help answer some of those lingering questions that you guys have. We do ask that you participate in our presentation, so please feel free to ask questions. We do ask that you put those in the chat box or the Q&A, and we will monitor that throughout the presentation. And we will take your questions at the end because we do want to make sure we answer those for you. And there's never a dumb question, so don't feel scared or intimidated. Please ask your question because you never know who might have the same one and they're just not sure how to say it. So we really do appreciate the participation. Also, please note that this PowerPoint will be put on our website and potentially social media, depending on how we can get that formatted after this presentation. So feel free to go back on there. There's going to be some different links and resources available, and you're going to want to be able to have access to that. So please check this back out online. We do ask that you like and share our things on social media because caring is sharing. So the more that you share this knowledge, the more people feel empowered with it. So Miss Donna, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn this over to you and let you get this going.
Well, hello. Like she said, my name is Donna Mundy. I'm a work incentive counselor, a certified work incentive counselor, or what they call a CWIC, and I'm also the WIPA project director. That stands for program, and it's a program that's funded by Social Security that helps people receiving a disability benefit understand how working impacts their benefits. It's a great resource. As she said, there's great resources out there, so you know exactly what happens. So we'll get started here. I'm gonna try to speak slowly. If I go too fast, please let Sarah Beth know, because I can only see her and myself. And then she can wave at me to slow down or something, because I know I do speak quickly. And also note, we are all working remotely. So I'm coming to you live from Schnellville, Indiana. And my dogs have just alerted me to the fact that the UPS man is here, but I think he's gone now, so things should be quiet. So we're going to talk a little bit about Social Security disability benefits and transition age youth. Where we're going today, we're going to look at the various types of Social Security benefits that are paid to transition youth. We'll go a little bit over how the age 18 transition process works. And then we're also going to talk about some of the special issues that might affect a transition age youth. So the very first thing that you have to know is what type of benefit you, or if you're a parent or a guardian, know what type of benefit the child or student receives. Because Social Security disability benefits are paid through two basic programs. Either the SSI program, which is Supplemental Security Income, or the Title II Disability Benefit Program, which often people say, I get disability, or they might say, I get SSDI. So these two programs are completely different, and they look at earned income very differently. It's important to know some students may get both of these benefits. They may get SSI as well as a Title II benefit, and some students may not get either benefit. So here's the comparison of SSI and the Title II disability benefits, kind of to help you see them side by side to know how they differ. So SSI is means tested. That means because it is supplement security income, it's actually not paid from that Social Security trust fund that we all pay into with our taxes from working. It's actually funded by federal tax dollars. So it's a different pot of money, so to speak. And it's supposed to be like the payer of last resort. They'll look at all the other pots of money first before they look at this SSI bucket. And when you receive SSI, they're going to look at how much money you might be earning if you have unearned income. And Social Security also will look at your resources. And the resources could be a savings account, checking account, retirement funds, trust fund, anything like that. And in most states, Kentucky included, if you get SSI, you automatically get Medicaid in the state. So that's a real helpful tool because you don't have to apply for a health insurance separately. So with the Title II disability program, this is an entitlement program. A lot of people don't like that word, but basically you've worked, you've paid your taxes, it's Social Security disability insurance. You've paid your taxes, and now it's in this, all this money you've been paying in is in a trust fund. And you're entitled to receive that either when you retire or if you become disabled. And there are 3 types of Title II that people with disability can receive, and that's SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, CDB, which is Childhood Disability Benefit, and DWB, which is Disabled Widow Benefit. And that's not going to apply probably to most of the people on this call today. The Title II benefit is not means tested. You can have as much money as you want in the bank or have accumulated. You can have retirement accounts. You can have more than one house. You can have all kinds of things with Title II disability because really you've paid in your taxes. It's been set aside for you. Also, with a person who's receiving a Title II disability, you can get Medicare after a 24-month waiting period. Some disabilities, you may get Medicare immediately, like end-stage renal disease, but most of them, it's a 24-month waiting period. So how are you eligible for SSI? Well, the federal monthly payment is capped at what they call the federal benefit rate, and this year it's $794. So that means that's the most you could get if you were receiving SSI. It's $1,191 for an eligible couple. And again, we talked about those resources. Resources have to be under $2,000 for an individual or $3,000 for an eligible couple. That's not a lot of money to have. So the requirements are really strict. And then also you have to have unearned income of less than the current FBR. Unearned income are things like a Title II benefit. It might be a disability insurance policy that's being paid to you, things like that. It's unearned, it's just coming to you as income. And it's important to note for children under 18, parental income counts. And if you're married, your spouse's income will count. And they call this process deeming. And we'll talk a little bit about that more soon. So your amount of your SSI payment is affected by many things. So, it starts, the most you can get is $794. Now, if you're working and have wages, wages can make that SSI payment go down, self-employment income or in-kind things in place of pay. That can affect that SSI full amount. And there's work incentives that apply. We'll talk a little bit about those later too. We talked a bit about unearned income. That again is the SSDI. It could be one of those payments. It could be a CDB payment, but we'll look into those too. Also, in-kind support and maintenance, they call that ISM, in-kind support and maintenance. And if a person is saying, okay, if Social Security says we've got to use the whole in-kind support and maintenance, what normally happens is they have a 1/3 reduction rule. So the highest your SSI is 529, okay? And then also sometimes SSI payments are reduced because of an overpayment. And that's often due to not reporting earnings, not reporting unearned income. If you have more than $2,000 in resources, then Social Security say, hey, you shouldn't have been getting a check this month. We got to get that back. So those type of things. So now we're going back to the Title II benefits. These are the ones you've paid your taxes into. Now you're getting a Title II benefit. To be eligible for a Title II benefit, normally you're not working or your earnings are below SGA, and SGA stands for Substantial Gainful Activity. And that's a decision Social Security makes to say, okay, I think this person can work. And in 2021, it's $1,310 for non-blind people and $2,190 for blind people. Now, that number, 1,310, is just like a baseline. Like I said, it's a decision. So Social Security begins there. It's like, okay, this person is earning $1,410 a month. That's over 1,310. So now let's look at what work incentives we can apply. And there's sometimes work incentives that are applicable that your countable income goes down below SGA. But I often get calls about what's SGA this year, what's SGA this year. But so as long as you're earning under that, you would still be eligible for your Social Security disability benefit. Also, to be eligible, you have to have earned enough credits by paying into the Social Security, by paying taxes yourself, or that you have a deceased, retired, or disabled parent who paid in on your behalf, or again, be eligible for this disabled widow benefit, which you've got to be at least 50 to qualify for that. And like I said before, resources or other forms of unearned income are not considered with SSDI eligibility. All right, the one we're going to focus on is the childhood disability benefit, because that's the one most youth will encounter. To be eligible for Social Security as an adult child, they used to call this a DAC benefit, disabled adult child, and now it's called a childhood disability benefit. But you still may hear people refer to it as, are they getting a DAC benefit? And then you know that that's the same thing. But an individual, in order to receive a CDB benefit, they have to be at least 18 years of age or older, as they're an adult. They have to have their disability occur before the age of 22, and also be a child of an insured worker who is either disabled, retired, or deceased. So someone can get a CDB benefit either right when they turn 18, if they were a child, or their parent is disabled, retired, or deceased, or it may occur later in life. They may be age 40 before they're eligible for childhood disability benefits because maybe their parent hasn't retired yet. So it's just something to keep in mind, that childhood disability benefit can occur anytime after age 18 or older. And it's also important to know that if you are a recipient of your childhood disability benefit, that benefit will end unless the marriage is to another Title II disability beneficiary. So if they're marrying somebody who's also getting a CDB, or they're also getting a SSDI cash benefit, then normally otherwise that benefit will stop. Excluding those on child benefits, and we'll explain the difference in that shortly. So not all Social Security benefits received by students are related to disability. A common benefit, this is that child's benefit, it's sometimes called a dependent benefit or even an auxiliary benefit. And these benefits are not based on the student's disability. So like I said, the very first step is what kind of benefits is my child receiving? It's important to know the type. Child benefits are paid to dependent children of insured workers who are now disabled, retired, or deceased. Child benefits are paid up to age 18 or as long as up to 19 years and 2 months if they are still in high school. So if you have a child who's turns 18 in November and they're not graduating until May of the next year, that child benefit or auxiliary benefit will continue until they graduate in May. So it's just important to know. So then the other type of beneficiaries, which I mentioned initially, are called concurrent beneficiaries. And this is really good news. It just means that all the work incentives, everything applies to you. So it's important for you to understand how how all these things impact all the benefits. So a person can already be receiving a Title II benefit. They've worked a while, it's been established, but their Title II benefit, the one they've paid in taxes and they'll get back, is less than $794. So they may get their Title II benefit, say it's $500, and then Social Security say, well, you also get this SSI benefit to match up, to bring your limit up to that $794. Now, and that can change depending on if a person is married or, other circumstances going on. We'll talk a little bit about more that too. So if a person is already receiving an SSI cash benefit, so they're already getting SSI, now they've been working, earning their own work credits, and they actually have some SSDI that could come back to them. Or a parent becomes disabled or retires or passes on, they may then be eligible for a CDB benefit. So SSI is going to look to see, oh, wait a minute, you get this and this. And so a person can actually be receiving SSI, CDB, and SSDI, or when they're much older, a DWB, but, till they get to the maximum level that Social Security allows. So this slide, I just want to talk briefly about this because I know there's some seminars coming up that we're going to talk specifically about Social Security disability benefits and work. But these are the important things to read, because paid employment and Social Security disability benefits are not mutually exclusive. There are wonderful work incentives available. People who get SSI always have more money in their pocket when they're working and still can maintain their SSI eligibility. They can keep, like in the next box, it says they can keep their Medicaid. And they're just wonderful work incentives available. And the same with SSDI. There's ways that you can plan financially and come out ahead and make the decisions based for you. This is when you want to get a WIPA or a certified work incentive counselor involved, so you can look at all the pictures and decide which makes the best sense for me. And it's also important to know that if you do lose your benefits due to employment, like you've worked so much that you're no longer eligible, then there's ways to get it back fairly easy. All right, back to starting with the age 18 redetermination for SSI. One of the most important things to know is Social Security looks at adults different than they do children. So it's more stringent, it's more strict, and someone could have the same disability, the same medical condition, the same ability to function level, since they were found eligible as a child, and not be considered disabled according to adult standards. And often I think if you think about it as the ability to work and function in a structured environment, or whatever, that ability to work over ability to learn, and having a parent, a caregiver, they're available for you when you're age 18. For SSI to continue after age 18, individuals must meet the adult definition of disability. And in 2020, it's important to know that approximately 52% of SSI recipients are initially found ineligible to continue SSI benefits after age 18. So it's not unusual for someone to not be found disabled when they do an age 18 redetermination. In 2019, it was like 48%. I think COVID had some impact on those numbers because of trying to move people through the age 18 redetermination process. Okay, the redetermination is always conducted at some point after the age 18 birthday. And usually it's done before the person turns 19. But like I said, through 2020, I've had a couple of people who are 19 and they're still waiting to find out. But normally it's done during that year. If the person is found ineligible, they get 2 months of benefits after the date of the disability determination. The determination does not go back to the 18th birthday. So in other words, what that means is you've sent your paperwork in. I'll go through that little process in a minute. And now you get a letter from Social Security and they say, you're not eligible. Well, you turned 18 in October. You get the letter in January. You're still getting your cash benefits until the determination is made. So in January, that's when the disability determination is made. That means you'll get benefits yet for February and March. Okay, they don't go back to 18 and say, now you owe us money. It's right from that disability determination date. And then you can also at that point appeal the decision, and then SSI can continue until a final decision is made. But you have to be aware that even though the SSI is continuing, they may ask for that back, except for up to the 2 months after the determination date is made. So that's just something to be aware of. All right, a little note on the age 18 redetermination. It can sometimes occur at a regularly scheduled continuing disability review, or what they call a CDR. And most people are on a schedule as far as with Social Security. It could be 1 year, it could be 3 years, it could be 7 years, and they're on a schedule. So if there's already one scheduled, it'll probably occur around that time. But normally speaking, again, it's after that 18th birthday. But it's normally, but there's no law that says it has to be. So also, it's important to know that Social Security will not initiate an age 18 disability redetermination if the individual was not eligible for SSI in the month before the 18th birthday. So not all children with a disability may be receiving an SSI cash benefit because of parent-to-child deeming. So an age 18 redetermination will not begin unless it's initiated by a parent or guardian. So the student or child already has to be receiving SSI for Social Security automatically start one. So deeming. When Social Security determines the eligibility and the amount of payment for an SSI recipient, the child, the income and resources of the people responsible for the recipient's welfare are also considered. It's called deeming. It's based on the idea that as a parent, we're going to share our income and our resources with our child. The same way, if we're married, we'll share those resources with our spouse. Doesn't matter if the money is actually provided or not, deeming will still apply. So what do you need to know about parent-to-child deeming? Only Social Security can determine the amount of deemed income or resources. There's really no way to guess. They have a formula, they have things that they utilize and make judgments about based on the Social Security POMs, or the rules and regulations that govern what they do. And, not all income accounts, there's many exclusions and deductions. And that deemed income from parent to child is treated like unearned income in an SSI calculation. And that SSI calculation is what helps Social Security figure out what your SSI cash payment would be. So in the top part of the calculation, they show your unearned income. And then they'll minus $20 from it. And that's just a general income exclusion. And that deemed income, then what they figure, okay, the parents are providing about this much income, they'll pop that in the calculation. And then they'll add to it, if you're working, if you're a student and you're earning, if you're blind, there's different other work incentives that apply that will get you down to the actual, what your SSI cash payment will be. And it's important to know that parent to child deeming only applies to individuals under age 18. Because at 18, we're considered adults in society. So parent to child deeming no longer is applicable after age 18. ISM is. And so what is ISM? ISM is in-kind support and maintenance. We've mentioned that briefly at the beginning. So instead of parent to child deeming, in-kind and support and maintenance is food and shelter, or it could be both, that somebody else provides for you. So your child, you can be over age 18 and still living in the, your parents' household. And so if you're not contributing your share as a student to the household, then Social Security is determining that in-kind support and maintenance will prevail. And like I said before, that's normally that 1/3 reduction rule. And someone can also, maybe if you're living out on your own, they could be helping you pay rent. They may pay your utility bills. They may pay your phone bills. But if you pay your fair share, your SSI could be that full benefit of rate of $794. So now we'll talk about establishing entitlement to CDB. So SSI is the payer of last resort. I've mentioned that before. It's that pocket of money that's paid for out of a different fund than the trust fund. And so if a person, when they're going through the age 18 redetermination, Social Security is going to look to see if a CDB benefit or SSDI benefit is potentially available, because that pot of money would come first before the supplement security income payment. So CDB payment. So if you at age 18 and you have a parent who is already retired or who may be receiving disability themselves or who have passed on, you could receive a childhood disability benefit off of them. That's a Title II benefit. And if it's over $794, and remember I said in the unearned income minus 20, so they put that $20 back in because that's a general income exclusion. So really, if it's more than $804, you can lose your SSI eligibility. And people are terrified saying, well, I don't want that then, but it's okay because you can maintain Medicaid, which, like I said, goes automatically to SSI recipients because of special Medicaid rules. In states like Kentucky, they're not allowed to count a CDB benefit that causes the loss of SSI when they're calculating Medicaid eligibility. They can't count it. So they can throw out that whole amount. And also, it's important to know that once you receive that CDB cash benefit, you will become eligible for Medicare after 24 months. And so as that's moving you through the continuum, it's good to know, okay, I still get my Medicaid based on this rule that's going to throw out, they call them special income, special Medicaid beneficiaries. They'll throw that CDB income out. They're not going to count that. And then once you get your Medicare, then you'll be looking at, okay, is my Medicare enough? Will I get Medicaid to supplement that? But it will take 24 months before your Medicare will start. Okay, so working and earning. So a lot of people are afraid for their child or student, or if I'm talking to youths out there as well, they're afraid to start working. I talked to a mom the other day whose child is going through the age 18 redetermination process, and she goes, no, he's absolutely not going to work until we get this finalized. But it's really okay to work. It actually can be supporting your case. So if your child has been working through high school, a lot of kids start at 14 already, working. My daughter worked in a restaurant and cleaned tables and that kind of stuff starting at age 14. And so you could build some work credits on your own and maybe even have a little SSDI on your own record. And when you have a disability, they have other ways of calculating how many credits you have to have and the income limits. And I've got an attachment that I'll send to Sarah Beth that she can email to you or post that comes from Social Security that kind of explains that a little bit better. But also if the student doesn't have enough credits, they can still accumulate work credits over time. And you think, well, why would they do that if they get SSI? Well, SSI again is supplemental security income. The Title II benefits are more stable. The work rules are different. They don't go up and down with your workings. And you get Medicare on top of that after the 24-month waiting period. And you can continually, while you're working and earning, increase that benefit, for when you get to age, whatever your full retirement age will be. So sometimes after the age 18 redetermination, your student or child, or you, if I'm talking to youth, may be found eligible for SSDI, CDB, and SSI, or all three of them. And the good news is that just means they're concurrent and all the work incentives apply. There's so many tools and things that they can take advantage of to become self-sufficient and to have, a good financial future. So here are some special issues, just a recap that might occur for a transition age youth. SSI recipients have to undergo that age 18 redetermination for benefits to continue under the adult standard. And remember, if you as parents are making too much money, or the guardians, or you've got money in retirement and your child didn't qualify for SSI, you've got to be the one to initiate the redetermination at age 18 to have them look at these as your child as an adult. Parent-to-child GMing stops in the SSI program on the 18th birthday. Eligibility for child benefits, remember those auxiliary benefits, stop at age 18 or 19 and 2 months is still in high school. So it's just kind of like, make sure you're aware of the type of benefits and what's happening when. And the eligibility for CDB may begin at age 18 if the disability standard is met. And also youth who work can establish eligibility for SSDI fairly quickly. All right, here's the walkthrough of what Social Security, what happens when you're going through an age 18 redetermination. If you are already receiving SSI, you will get a written notification saying we're beginning the age 18 redetermination process, and that they're going to be looking at the case. Then they will schedule an interview. Now with COVID, it will likely be over the phone. If they're seeing people, if it's a critical situation, they're still seeing people at the Social Security office, but this one will likely be conducted over the phone, and you'll have to make sure they have all the paperwork and stuff. They'll ask a whole bunch of questions, and you want to be prepared with all the data and all the information that you could, possibly gather. Then it goes up to the DDS, the Disability Determination Service. They'll send all that information up there. It's supposed to take approximately 45 days, but it sometimes takes 5-6 months. So, don't be worried that, wow, this is really taking a long time. And if you develop a relationship with your local office, sometimes you can call and check on it, and they'll say, no, it's still there, haven't heard anything, but just know it can take some time. Then after the Disability Determination Services makes their decision, you'll get another letter. If it's, they'll say, hey, we conducted the age 18 redetermination, and if it's favorable, your SSI cash payment continues and the Medicaid with no interruption. Everything just continues on like usual. If you're not determined eligible as an adult, you'll get a letter saying if you've been found not eligible, you're no longer qualified to receive these benefits. And then from that date of the disability determination, you get 2 more months of cash benefits, of SSI cash benefits and Medicaid. So just to be aware of that. Medicaid, that's automatic, I should say. And remember, you can always appeal any disability determinations.
You froze just a little bit, so you might need to redo that part.
Which, the whole part or the last?
Not the last probably minute.
Okay, so I'll start with this age 18 redetermination process. I'll start here again. I apologize if I'm repeating. So the first thing you'll get is a letter in the mail, and that's if your child is already receiving SSI. You'll get a letter in the mail saying that we're going to redetermine this case to see if they're eligible as an adult, as an 18-year-old adult. If you are not receiving SSI, you will not get a letter in the mail. So it's important to know the difference. After you get the letter in the mail, they'll have information in there. You call your Social Security office, they'll set up an appointment. You may get an appointment in that letter, but to make sure before that appointment, you gather up all your things that you want to tell them. They're gonna gather information to really see how the disability affects the person's ability to function. And remember, they're looking at them as an adult and their ability to work and be in the community. After that interview is completed, they pull all the data together. They may do some additional gathering. They may call some of the people that, you could say you can talk to this OVR counselor, you can talk to this person. They may do some of that as well. But if you provide as much as possible, that makes the process a little smoother. Then the Disability Determination Service, the DDS, is looking at all this information gathered at the interview. And like I was saying, I don't know if you got that or not, it's supposed to take about 45 days, but it can take 5 or 6 months and even longer. Sometimes with COVID, it seems to be taking a little bit longer, but they'll, and then after they make their decision, then you'll get a letter, and that letter will say, yes, the decision is favorable, you'll continue to receive your SSI cash payments and Medicaid, and there will be no interruptions. If you're determined not eligible for SSI benefits as an adult, you'll still get a notice, but it'll say you're no longer eligible to receive SSI or Medicaid, but you'll get 2 more months. Remember, from the date of disability, if it's in January, you'll get 2 more months, and they'll tell you that'll be February, March, they'll lay it out for you. And then remember, any disability determination may be appealed. So preparing for the age 18 determination, because they're really looking that they're considering this an initial eligibility rather than just a CDR, there's a heightened need for youth and families, school personnel, all these people to try to gather and provide accurate and up-to-date documentation and evidence that's related to the disabling conditions and the person's ability to function and work. One of the main things to do is gather the contact information, gather the doctor's names, the best phone numbers, their mailing addresses, all those things. The therapists you may be working with, any of the disability professionals that you may, like through the Office of Voc Rehab or through supported employment, or other people that may be working with your student or child, teachers, the co-op personnel, anybody that might have information to share on how the young person's functions. Even like receiving a Michelle P or an SCL waiver, some of the waiver providers might be able to provide good information as well. And then I think it's also important to develop for financial reasons and just to be prepared for taking care of the whole of the person, is develop a contingency plan in case they're not considered eligible for an SSI benefit or Medicaid after they turn 18. And this can include plans for, I want to look at other ways, employment supported things, other things. There are special income standards for the Medicaid waivers in Kentucky. So you want to find out what those are for this particular year. What is that going to look like? What other group of Medicaid can my child potentially be eligible? Or do I need to, do they need to go on my plan? Because that usually covers them till age 26. You just want to make sure that the basic needs, the support needs are being met. And just kind of develop that plan in your head so you know where you're going. Just in case. I think this is a lot of repeat, but I do want to cover the fact that during the age, they are looking at the individual's future ability to earn income through paid employment. And like I said before, many people and their families are under the impression that they must not be working at any level when the redetermination occurs. But in actuality, that substantial gainful step doesn't occur in this particular evaluation process. It doesn't apply to the disability requirements, not at all. So that means the youth can be employed, making money even above SGA, and still be found eligible for SSI under the adult rules during the age 18 redetermination, as long as the disability standard is met and the other SSI eligibility criteria are met. And some of those other eligibility criteria would be resources. If they're working and putting money away and they got $2,024 in their savings account, that they'll look at that and say, oh, if they got more than $2,000 in their savings account, that's more than resources. It's a simple reason, but I've seen people be denied that or even called out in overpayment for just having $16, $20 over $2,000. But again, there's no reason not to engage in paid employment before, during, or after redetermination. And most people at this age 18, they're just beginning their work careers. They might have worked a little bit in high school, or they're planning for working ahead. And, they may not be up to full-time employment, or it's even just a few hours a week based on what they are comfortable for them as a whole person, their mental well-being, their physical well-being, all those things tied together. So, and it's also, it's important to know that disability benefit payments can continue for a limited time. I'm only going to talk briefly about this because there's a whole lot of rules that go into it, but it's called Section 301. And that's just a phrase that refers to several different parts of the Social Security Act that allows these continued disability payments to be made to individuals who have medically improved, meaning they no longer meet the disability standard under certain prescribed circumstances. So that Section 303 is contingent upon meeting several important criteria when the determination is performed. So it needs to be prepared in advance. So what is Section 301? Again, this is very brief. Section 301 is a whole webinar for itself. But you really can get that continued disability or blind payment, SSI or Title II. And if they've been medically ceased, and if they're in an appropriate program, and that could be vocational rehabilitation services, employment services, or other support services. And that means that if they're in this program, it has to be before the disability ended, before Social Security said, oh, you're no longer meet the criteria, you're no longer, it's been medically ceased. And so they already have to be signed up and participating in the program. It has to be an approved program, and there's a long list of those, but vocational rehabilitation service are the most common. And they have to, once they complete that program, and the SSI continues to that time, it has to be likely that the individual will not have to return to disability or blindness roles. So some of the programs that they may be participating in with vocational rehabilitation might be a supportive employment program or a training program. Some people, if they're in a skills building program, or maybe they're learning a specific trade like welding or something, or they're in college, they know that after they get through this program, it's likely that they will, be able to be self-sufficient financially down the road. So as part of your age 18 redetermination project, here's a couple of things that you want to keep in mind. So remember that turning 18 means Social Security now views the student as an adult. So will you need a representative payee? Do you need to have legal guardianship of this adult? So those are things that you also want to plan in your head. Okay, this is what I need going forward. And also, do the student and family members understand the Social Security reporting requirements? So if a parent plans to say, well, I'll be the rep payee because I've been, covering this stuff, helping do this all along, as long as you know the difference in what your responsibilities will be for this young adult going forward, reporting earnings, reporting as a rep payee, reporting how the money is spent and where it goes, all those kind of capacity. And I think it's also important for the parent, if the parent is thinking, I have to be the payee because my student doesn't know how to handle money, I'm not sure they'll know what to do with it. And that's relevant to any young adult going out into the work world, because having little money and now suddenly have a whole lot of money makes a difference. And sometimes our spending habits don't change. We just continue to spend what was given to us. And we don't pay attention to what we have to have left over by the end of the month in order to pay our bills. So you can build your students' money skills. There's this program, it's a computer-based instruction. It's called Money Smart that the FDIC has put out. It's a really good program. And so it's something that's self-paced. You can walk through the lessons. And I think it's awesome for parents themselves, for fifth graders, sixth graders, anyone that you're trying to teach about money. It talks about money, budgeting, credit, fraud, identity theft, saving for the future, all those kind of things. And really what it does is allowing you to tell, each dollar that you have, you give it a name and you tell it where it goes. So you understand what's happening with your money. And, it's very important that we develop those skills as we become adults, because it helps us be more financially self-sufficient. And I know there's other programs out there. People have told me about the Dave Ramsey program and programs that I've seen some church groups offer. And in Louisville, they have a whole empowerment group. And I don't think I put that resource in here, but you can call and take classes and have individual one-on-one sessions with somebody as you're beginning to learn this stuff. And so that's something you want to check into. I put together some resources here so you can say, okay, where do I get transition age services, or what they call pre-ETS, which is pre-transition age services. Transition is usually like 18 to 24, and pre-ETS is like 14 to 18. So they're starting younger and helping to get kids involved in thinking and planning about their future and what they see themselves doing after high school. So the Kentucky Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, this is the link to their page. And on that page, you can find resources for checklists, but also like the OVR counselors. Who's the counselor in my county that I want to call? Who will guide me to the right thing? And they also have a new pre-ETS branch in OVR. And we'll learn more about that too as that's rolling out. I just heard last month they hired a new director. Her name is Veronica Dale. And then she's getting counselors in place and getting situated to be able to provide that pre-ETS services for like 14 to 18. And then also I put the Social Security. Social Security has recently come out with a whole little youth section, and that's on www.ssa.gov. and /youth. And they have, things you need to know about the age 18 redetermination process, those kind of things. And I think it's important to know, sometimes we learn by hearing things over and over and over again. We may not grasp all these details at once, but, oh, I've heard of that before. I've heard of that before. And we can build our knowledge based on, seeing things over and over in a little bit different ways. And then also I put the Human Development Institute, or more commonly known as HDI. They're part of the University of Kentucky. And on this website, I tracked it all the way down to the resources. They have wonderful checklists, that you can download, you can print yourself. And it's like, my child is 14 to 18. And then these are some checklists of things that you want to be considering. And on that page too, you can find other resources, other videos, little short videos on, links to those resources that you can utilize. And then I also wanted to talk another resource that's available at the Center for Accessible Living, and that's the Youth Empowered Self Advocates. And I put the link here to their little section on our webpage, but it's called the YES group. And there's a group that goes into the schools, and they have peer mentors. They're not in all the schools, they're working in that direction. And they provide teaching opportunities and sharing resources to help young adults, young students, so they can make determinations for themselves, self-advocate, say, this is what I want. Sometimes it's helping them find their voice. And because they're working with peers, they understand, okay, this person did this person has figured this out. And they look at all kinds of things, even going out socially, hey, I think I might want to date. And, how do we handle this? What do we do? They work on all kinds of things. And it's also a lot of fun. They have a lot of fun in the different programs that they offer. So that too is another resource. And a couple of other resources are the Kentucky Youth Career Center. And I don't know if you have people, if you're living in any of these counties, but some of them are fairly close to Jefferson County. So I wanted to make sure that you have this available for you. And but they can help with GED prep, or there might be paid internship opportunities, some job readiness workshops, some skill training programs. And, and there's no cost, just give that Renee a call and you can sign up or email. And then the Network for Youth Development and Community Building, that is also a resource. Now that is located in Louisville, in Jefferson County. And they work with the Youth Build Louisville, the Louisville Urban League, and Goodwill Industries. And it's kind of like a one-stop shop. So you can understand what services are available, what programs are available. And it's for 16 to 24 for kids who are not in school. You may not be working yet, or you just kind of need support. They're kind of wraparound service to say, what kind of things are you looking to achieve? And but you can email Sharon Allgaier, or you can give her a call. Her information is provided on this stream. And then one important thing to remember are these few points that I'd like to just highlight again. That yes, work is possible. As you can see, I'm a big proponent of working. WIPA, the Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Project, is all about work. And it's about showing people how you can become better financially self-sufficient, utilizing work incentives and understanding and knowing what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, so you can. And so work is possible and most often beneficial. I've worked with, in this last week, I know I've talked to at least 4 different youth who say, I just want to get off the couch. I'm tired of sitting at home. They don't want that to be their future, that now that they're done with school, what is there for them to do? People tell them you can't work. Well, they can work. So they're getting involved with the Office of Voc Rehab. They're finding, they're getting support employment people who can help them determine what kind of job or what kind of training they want. And they can move into a life of financial independence, financial stability. And also having those support networks with waiver services or support employment or OVR services, it can help, get that success. And obviously WIPA service, so you know what's going to happen and when, and we can help you research and make sure that you're getting the benefits that that you are entitled to. And also, the next point is turning 18 creates a lot of changes in Social Security disability benefit status. So it's a touch point, like we say, so that you make sure that okay, I'm turning 18 and these things are all going to change. And so I need to be aware of what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. And I also want to stress how important it is to get benefits counseling before you begin careers or begin working or even preparing for a career. If you're thinking, I'm going to go to college, a young girl I talked to the other day, she's going to join the military. And so she's going through her testing and that things, but she wants to be prepared for what happens when she joins the military, what's going to happen to her cash benefits and those things. She wants to plan ahead and know the road before her. The more we plan and prepare, the better prepared we are if something changes, or if there's we all have those sudden turns in the road, or suddenly there's a big log across the road and we think, oh, I didn't think about that. But the better we are prepared, the more we know about what could potentially happen, the better we can deal with those little bumps in the road and we can, continue on our path. Be sure to prepare during the 17th year to minimize any impact of changes that occur at 18. Like I said, the more you can plan, the more contact information you get, the more, you can get statements from employment providers that are helping your student or adult, your young adult on the job to show what kind of supports they need. The waiver providers, to say, because a lot of times with supports, people can work. Doesn't mean you no longer have a disabling condition, but with the proper supports, you can be, better off financially and still have what you need to stay mentally healthy, physically healthy, all those things. And of course, I can't stress it enough. Always, always, always keep any earnings documentation, any pay stubs, anything that you get from your employer. Always keep any correspondence to and from Social Security so that you have that to refer to. File folder works good. A envelope, you can get a large envelope, keep everything in there. I've had people also that use the gallon storage bags. They keep everything in there and write, their Social Security on the front of it so that they always have it and it stays clean. In there. I would also recommend keeping any correspondence from DCBS or the Department of Community-Based Services in regards to your Medicaid, SNAP benefits. If you're getting housing assistance, keep all that documentation so you have all the information that you need at the right time. So how can you learn more about working and your Social Security cash benefits? And we're going to do a couple of presentations in the months down the road on SSI and on SSDI, and as well as a work tool called DB 101. But if you want to know more now, you can call the Ticket to Work helpline to get started. And that's 1-866-968-7842. And they'll give you basic information. And then they refer us to one of the local WIPAs in Kentucky. And these lines have changed a little bit. The new WIPA grant, which will be good for the next 5 years, some of the lines have changed a bit. We now, for the Center for Accessible Living, cover obviously Jefferson County, then all the way west, but we also take care of the southern half of Indiana. So it's important to know in any of these counties, you'll get to the right person. And Goodwill of Kentucky, they're mostly east. They go down through the center. They cover like Boyle County, but they also are going to be starting to cover Barron County and some of those other counties down there. But you can call either one of us. I provide the phone numbers there, and then we'll determine your eligibility for services, and then help you, find the best thing that suits your needs individually. Any questions? I'm going to stop sharing here so I can see your lovely faces.
Donna, that was fantastic. Usually I start making a list of questions because, I'm a mom too. And so I'm
Okay.
constantly like wondering about some of these things that you talked about. And I have to say, this is one of the best presentations I've seen on this because you just kept answering questions as I was writing stuff down. I was like, she does know her stuff. So this was very informative. I think we do have another council question, but I still have a couple that I wanted to throw out as well. This
Okay.
one says, sad question, is the council on DD still accepting donations for council closet this Saturday? Yes, Dawn, Miss Dawn, we are. A good question. Thank you for that. But we are still going to be in the office 10 to 2 this Saturday, taking donations for the council closet. That's a program that we created to help kind of offset the cost for teachers. One of which the schools involved in that is Aaron's Trade School. So they actually go perfect with what we're talking about because those kids, and I was thinking about them as you were talking, Donna, they are taking TARC to school, which is an independent life skill itself, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
These kids get to learn how to take TARC. They take public transportation to school. They learn how to take that to their jobs. They basically are co-oping, like they're going to jobs. They're going for on-the-site job training. They have job coaches helping them, and it's getting them prepared for all of this. So they're learning, as well as their parents are, how these benefits work, how they still get their paychecks, and exactly what you described. So this was perfectly tied into that. But their teachers still have to teach them some of these skills. So it's a great JCPS program. If your kids are able to do this, I highly suggest looking into seeing if they qualify. But it's a really great program. And so the council closet's just to help the teachers offset the cost of some of the work ready skills that people don't think is a school supply, but for these particular students, it is. A watch, a timer. You can't always have your phone accessible at school. So you need a watch or you need a kitchen timer, things like that. A poncho comes in handy because it's going to rain and you don't always know when it's going to rain. So that being prepared part kind of comes into play for that. I had a question though, Miss Donna. So when you were talking about the deeming benefits for a household, what if there is a step parent involved? Like we get a lot of calls like that where there's now step parents involved, and maybe mom's the one that does all the waiver stuff or dad's the one that does all the waiver stuff, but there's a maternal fraternal parent in another state or another place. Like how does that work if there's a step parent situation? Does that count for the birth parent of the individual or the step parents living in the home? Is their income involved? How does that work?
Yeah, it will look at the parent, it will look at the income of the home where the child is living. So if the step parent is living with the child, their income would be considered. And if the child, I know in some cases there, you may spend 3 days here, you may spend 3 days here, and Social Security will put all that stuff in their formula to determine how much is actually, where and who the primary provider is, the primary caregiver. But yes, it will count.
Okay, awesome. I know for myself personally, we did not qualify. My son did not for SSI. He qualified for the waiver, but with his dad and I both working and split custody, those kind of things come into play. I've got several friends who are kind of in that situation, divorced homes, kids are here these times, not these times. And so I just wanted other families in that mindset while I was thinking of it to know to look at
And
those
understand,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. So, and with Social Security, they'll ask you all those pertinent questions so they can get down to what they need. But it really is a lot of people with kids with disabilities in school, they're not getting an SSI cash benefit. And it doesn't make sense for a parent to say, well, I'll cash in all my retirement and all this stuff, because it doesn't make sense. You can continue to provide a good home and actually long-term structure and stability. If you're still, because you can, like you said, you can still be eligible for waiver services. You can still, because a lot of those are based on need. Many of them are income based as well, and get on those lists early.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I was so glad you mentioned this, and I actually had these sitting right here. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and show these. The file folders like Donna was suggesting to organize your information in. These are fantastic. They have multiple little compartments in it. You have multiple tabs that you can label. I'm an organization freak. I love anything that is easily accessible and organized. Like I even have these in different colors and you can label the outside. So like one can be benefit information, one can be work history or paycheck stubs. You could, even separate this out by like the month. I mean, you can get really creative and it's time consuming when you start it, but I promise when you go at the end of your, fiscal year, for example, when you're doing your guardianship stuff, the more organized you can be, the better. You know,
Absolutely.
you hit that nail right on the head, Donna. Like the more organized you can be, the easier it makes the process. Because when you're sitting in front of one of these people, if you are blessed enough to get a face-to-face appointment, they might say, "Hey, where's your document from January of 2022?"
Then you can just
right here.
dig it all out, because then that shows, oh, they were receiving this type of services, and it could be 2 years ago and you may not think to bring it along. And so this way you keep everything. I stress that. And I literally have had some parents tell me they use Ziploc baggies and they write on the top of it because they may not have, yes. And that way too, because they said if they're moving a lot or transporting, they don't worry about them getting wet in storage or things like that. Or if they're in the car, they feel, at least my paperwork's safe. And so you can come up with a system that works for you. I also have some of those mine's blue, those things too, because even saving retirement information, trust fund information, all those things. And you never know when they're going to ask you for, a letter from 5 years ago. And this way you'll have it. You'll say, wait a minute, I think I have that.
Absolutely. Organization is so key and vital when dealing with this. And if you have multiple children that you're trying to do this for, I have a pink and a green thing. So boy, girl, it makes it that much easier for me to differentiate between which kid it is. I can just grab that color and go. I've already learned from the very beginning with my son, the more information you have is better. It's better to take all of these things and have it ready than to not. It's like you said, you never know what somebody might ask for, and you'd rather have it than not, and have too much than not enough, because you can't produce something that you don't have.
Absolutely. And it's so much better than having to go through an appeal and produce that information that you already had. Because the more they have up front, the better off you are.
Absolutely. And something else I've learned recently, for those that live here in Jefferson County, if your individual has ever been to like university for anything, now that Norton has bought that out, their EMR system is completely different. So depending on the date range you may have been there, your records may be in a different filing archiving system. They may be in the new one. So you really have to know what facility that person was seen at to specifically, date range and pinpoint those records. So that might be something you want to go ahead and start looking into, is making sure you have all of these medical records. When COVID has happened, it's allowed some of these places to have some downtime to really archive some more things. So maybe if that's you coming up soon, you've got some extra time, start really piecing some of those things out, because they have 30 days to get you medical records at most places in the state of Kentucky. But the more that you have, the easier it takes, because you don't want to be 2 days before your appointment and waiting on mail to come still with records. So just kind of give you some recent updates we've had with some folks. That's a good trick I learned.
And that's good to know. I didn't know that, but I know too, just going to doctor appointments and, well, when was that surgery? And you're thinking, Well, and if you're like me, I age it by my kids. Well, it was before, so-and-so was born, or before they went to school, or before they did this, but it was after this, so I can narrow it down. But if I have it in the file, I can just go through.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Agreed. I think the other question I had, and I actually think that you answered it too, was just to kind of emphasize on those students that are in those age 21 programs within the school. It's important to remember that this particular part of this, re-eligibility, and then for some just starting the eligibility process, that does not just continue if they are in one of those programs. That age 18 is your key number to kind of be aware of and be planning for. They will qualify sometimes for those additional services throughout age 21, but age 18 is that magic, guardianship number, that legal adult age that you need to be like mindful of. That's probably the easiest way to say it.
To explain it, absolutely. That's because it will happen. And again, if you're not receiving SSI, you got to start it. They're not going to send you a letter if your child is not receiving them. It doesn't matter what program, if they're enrolled in pre-ETS or anything else. And a lot of teachers at the schools and those things don't understand that. They're not aware of that magic 18 date, or their counselors, and so it's important that the more then you can share with them too, because they are a vital resource in helping you pull data together. So it's very important that they're aware too. We're hoping to get into more schools and things. We did a lot of transition fairs, but COVID has just impacted, all of us in many different ways.
It absolutely has. That's why we hope here at the council to work with you guys more with these transitions, because we have realized that there's such a need for transition services just like this. So many people missed out on that with COVID. And that just the school dynamic has changed so much. It's hard for them to be able to continue those meetings and, get with the OVR counselors because their office, was closed during all that. And it's just been a lot of compacting, issues that tie over. And I don't know that everyone really realizes that, but COVID affected everyone. It really did.
Everyone. And absolutely. And I know the YES coordinators, and they were talking about too, how badly in the Bowling Green area, the Murray area, as well as the Louisville area, how badly they missed seeing each other, the students themselves, and getting together in these groups and not having that, that outlet and that opportunity to talk to other people, just other people. It's not the same. And, you can see some body language on Zoom, but, even that touch and that, that hug that they're missing, is just really vital.
Agreed. Well, Donna, we appreciate you so much. If there are not any other questions, I'm not seeing any. We just want to again thank you so much for your time. This has been very, very helpful. And we will be sharing the information on the website. So please check that out, and we will post this video as well. So hopefully if you missed this and you're in JCPS, your kiddo is probably starting school right now and you're frantically waiting for them to get ready to get off the bus, or you're like me, shortly on our way to sit in a huge line of cars to pick them up. So
Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
All right.
when
Well,
they
thank you
go to
so
bed, they
much.
can check out this video. But thank you so much, Donna. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.